Great, and we'll get started. Good morning or good evening, everybody. My name is Danielle Coco. I'm the marketing director at the Southern U.S. Trade Association. We're so glad that you are joining us this morning for our webinar on exporting U.S. beer, wine, and spirits to Hong Kong. We have a great lineup of speakers, some who are here in the U.S. and some who are in Hong Kong. So for them, it's 9 p.m. So we will go ahead and get started and kind of stick to our schedule. And the first speaker that we have is Jennifer Cleaver. She's the director of the Agricultural Trade Office in Hong Kong. She's been there 3 years. And as she was just telling us, about to be leaving. Before I hand it over to Jennifer, I just want to say everybody's muted. We are recording the webinar. If you need to go back and watch it or you want to share it, please do. But if you do have questions, just put them in the chat or the Q&A and we'll get to those at the end. So Jennifer, I'll hand it off to you.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for the opportunity to tell you about this very exciting market. And I get very excited about talking about Hong Kong and the opportunities that are here. So I beg of you, if I'm starting to run out of time, just please flag me. And I just want to make sure that I'm respectful of the other speakers. But thank you for everyone joining us. We're going to go through some slides here, but I don't want to do death by slides. So I'm going to try to give you a little bit of color as to what we're seeing. And whether or not this is your first time learning about Hong Kong or you have known Hong Kong for a while, I think that your interest right now couldn't be more timely because the landscape here is changing. There's a lot of changes afoot. And so it's a great opportunity for you to meet or reconnect with local Hong Kong trades. And one of the things about Hong Kong, and that you'll see in a minute, is this proximity to everything. So we tend to get a lot of regional buyers. And also, as you know, Hong Kong importers tend to make a lot of decisions too as to what ultimately gets purchased for mainland China as well. So talking a little bit about Hong Kong and the composition, it's a city is an economy of 7.5 million people. The per capita GDP is one of the highest in the region, high literacy rate, so very educated consumers. And you have a combination of Cantonese, Mandarin, and English. And I feel like it's very important to kind of look at the trajectory of the city throughout, because it was a British colony. It was transferred then to the People's Republic of China. And it's maintained this one country, two systems. And that's important and relevant to you in a minute. Well, the economy, as others economies, was impacted by the pandemic. And you can see in this chart, while the biggest dip in GDP was in 2020, I have to say the economy bounced very quickly in 2021 because the regulations kind of softened. But for us here in Hong Kong, the harshest and deadliest wave of the pandemic was actually in the spring of 2022. And so that's where you see that dip in the economy. But we opened international borders fully, and also with mainland China at the beginning of 2023. So if you think about it, it's very, very recent. The rest of the world was moving on, but their cycles of the pandemic were different than in Hong Kong. So there's an opening up of the economy. Prior to the pandemic, Hong Kong used to host about 50 to 60 million visitors a year. Now that figure went to pretty much nothing in the pandemic years. And then just recently, in this first quarter, we've seen a rise of about 153% international visitors, about 11 million just in the first quarter, which is a great improvement, but we're still have a ways to go to reaching out to that level of visitors. And Hong Kong's one of the pillars of its economy is tourism. And so other factors are still at play, but the economy is forecast to continue growing for 2024. And in terms of the advantages of this market, I mentioned one country, two systems, and here's why that's important to you. Because although, and you can see in the media that a lot of the other sectors, other areas, or other aspects of Hong Kong are slowly moving towards mainland practices, the food import regulations is something that is still very much autonomous. And it makes sense because Hong Kong imports about 90%, 95% of what they consume. So it behooves the importers, the import regulators to stay pragmatic to facilitate the entry of food and beverages in the economy. It still is one of the most transparent and stable import regimes. We have the world's busiest air cargo facility still this year. And then in terms of being a leading ocean terminal, it did drop one place over the last year, but still the top 10 in the world. Business language continues to be English quite a bit. We are seeing a transition in traders. There are some that are retiring, so you are seeing a new generation of traders coming in, which is another important reason why to come to Hong Kong and meet with them. Still a lot of westernized business practices, and we have duty-free for most food and beverages, except for distilled spirits, and I'll get that in a second. The advantages that we have with our products is that we have a very good reputation, and Hong Kong consumers really appreciate what we have to offer. We have a long, successful history of trade with Hong Kong, and there are still a lot of great re-export opportunities. And you will see some of the trade figures that should give you a better idea of the re-export opportunities. This is still one of my favorite slides, import regulations, because I have not worked in any other market that is as open as the Hong Kong market. I hands down, of all the markets I worked, this is the most open market. So again, predictable and consistent import regulations. There are no import quotas. Again, no duties except for alcohol, that it's above 30%. So for those of you that are dealing with distilled spirits, you do have a duty, but product seems to still be doing very well here in Hong Kong. In terms of other regulations that may affect you, labeling is pretty straightforward. They allow stickers, English labeling is allowed. And if any of you are carrying organic products, consumers here do look for the organic seal, and Hong Kong recognizes the USDA organic seal. So that's a good selling point and a way to differentiate your product. On consumer trends, it has changed so much in the last 3 years that I have been here, but the economy has been through a lot. And I will say that the dust has not settled in what has changed in consumers. So things like high cost of living and, they're still very busy and affluent, that has not changed. But they also travel a lot. On a weekend, it's not unheard of that, I'm going to the Philippines or I'm going to Thailand because it's just so close and so greatly located in Asia. So folks are very experienced and interested in international cuisines. You also have a lot of imported staff from around the world. So the restaurants tend to have very faithful and maintain the profiles of other cuisines around the world. Dining out is a thing. Folks here are very big foodies. One of the things that we have seen, of course, since the start of the pandemic, maybe heightened, is this notion of food safety and traceability, health awareness, and really being mindful about what you eat. And then the other item that we have seen rise here is this focus on experience. So it's not so much the dining experience and the having a nice plate, but what is this food coming from? Tell me a story. And I think in that sense, you can tell the story about your product, the sustainability also of our products, and the family traditions that you have. So they're very interested in the story behind the product. And I think we have great stories in the United States that we can tell. Rising social media participation. I mean, this is 98% of people probably on their phones, and you'll walk the streets and probably bump into someone that is not looking at the street because they're looking at their phone. So social media presence is something that we are very active on to try to communicate with consumers. And obviously this during the pandemic became a big factor and a good way to stay connected. Looking a little bit on trade, 2023 was actually a turning point for us because we were coming from 4 years of export slumps. So last year was the first year in 4 years that we've had an increase of 6%. If you were to look at the trajectory of US trade to Hong Kong since 2018, you would see kind of this like a line going down. But it's a little bit of a misconception, right? Because you had the signing of the Phase 1 agreement with China in 2018. And once that comes into effect, then you see a lot more direct exports from the United States into mainland China. So that meant less transshipments through Hong Kong. But I would say that between $1.6 billion, that's a more realistic view of the size of the Hong Kong market. And last year we had our first rise of 6%. And in the first quarter of this year, we're happy to see again 15% rise. And this pie chart gives you a little bit of an idea of where kind of the most popular products are. Looking more closely at the items that you guys are interested in, here is a chart on the top suppliers for Hong Kong. And you can see, not surprisingly, that during the 2022 and 2023, there is a drop in global imports. You do see, though, a rise in re-exports towards 2023. It's interesting to note that while other countries perhaps did better at restaurant business after the pandemic, the restaurant sector here has gone through a lot because there was a lot of disruption on regular business operations. And in 2023, when the international borders finally opened, after being just here in Hong Kong for so long, people just left. So you have a lot of people traveling out. And so you do see less of a need, maybe too much inventory of wine. And that's where you see some of these dips in 2023. They're still slow for the first quarter of 2024, but we'll continue to see what happens. I think this is an evolving situation. So US has about 3% of the wine market. We were, I think, competing with Australia at one point, but in the last couple of years, we've seen a super influx of Australian wine in the market, and primarily was because of tensions that were between Australia and mainland. And so that's when we saw an influx of Australian wine here. And I did mention there are re-export opportunities, and they're listed on the chart here. And this shows you a little bit about what Hong Kong is buying. Red wine seems to be the most predominant preference in terms of wines. And there is interest in sparkling wine. Brunching is a thing in Hong Kong. Like, I don't think any other city does brunching like Hong Kong does. So the bubbles definitely do sell, very popular. And it's also very interesting too, in terms of consumer trends. I think I've heard from other wine exporters that this is a trend also happening in the United States, that Generation C and millennials are drinking less and less. And we are definitely seeing that pattern here as well. In terms of spirits, US has 1%, and you'll see in a minute the composition and why China is the number one supplier. And it has to do with the type of spirit that is being sold. But it's been very interesting to see the progression of imports here, because you do see a rise between 2022 and 2023. Again, here also a lot of re-export opportunities. In terms of the composition, this 47% that you see here, other spirits, you're thinking, what else could there be? Well, it's Baijiu. And Baijiu is a white drink from mainland China, and that continues to be like the most predominant spirit currently in Hong Kong. It used to be grape grape brandy from France, but definitely now Baijiu from mainland has definitely taken over. Whiskeys are also popular. They have occupy about 20%. Scottish whiskeys take up about 81% of the market. Just wanted to give a quick, and I'm mindful of the time as well. I'm sorry, I'm going a little over, but again, I said there were a lot of foodies in Hong Kong. You have 14,000 restaurants and Michelin star restaurants. I think we have about 70, I want to say, but quite significant for an economy this size. And out of the 1,600 bars, 8 of them have made the top Asia bars. So the bar scene here is pretty amazing. And still roundup of 700 plus supermarkets and retail stores. In terms of retail sales, you can see in 2024, we've seen a little bit of a drop in retail in supermarkets. And that has been kind of an overall trend. Another trend that I want to talk about of consumers is that a lot of Hong Kongers have been traveling up north to shop and dine because the Hong Kong dollar is pegged to the US dollar. And with the strong currency, their currency goes a lot farther in mainland than it does here. So going to the weekends, there's a lot of folks going up north, and it's so convenient to go up there to dine and shop. And here's a chart on spirits sales also, and it tells you where they're being shopped. Here's the interesting again, right? Because you are seeing an increase in both off-trade and on-trade sales. And I'll speak very quickly about the opportunities to show here. And one of them is upcoming in November. And I think that's why everyone's here. One of the opportunities to showcase your product. Our office does a what we call a U.S. food and beverage showcase that we do every spring, wherein we invite U.S. exporters that are interested in introducing their product to Hong Kong. This year, we had about 120 traders come to the event. It's very focused. We had about 20 exhibitors. And so it's just a good opportunity also to touch base. So I put that out there in case folks are interested. And then in addition, there's Pro Wine and there's also Hofex trade show that is coming up next year. In addition to that, I just wanted to point out that I know I went very fast, but we have a wine report that we just did and has a lot of the information that you may need. And there's a link in this presentation that you can refer to. And we are here to help you. We're very happy to connect you with importers here. We have a bi-monthly newsletter that we call the Hong Kong Wonton. If anybody wants to subscribe, please let us know. We try to compile what's happening in the market through all channels, retail, restaurants, etc., just to give you a pulse on the market. And I'll wrap it up there. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Very interesting to see that, kind of holistic data on what's going on in the market. We did have one question that I think we could address now, just because it was directly tied to one of your slides. Could you define the difference between on and off trade?
Sure. It's off trade is not at premise. So when on trade is the wines poured on site. So the sales are of restaurants and bars, and off trade means off premise. So you purchase and consume at home.
Great, thank you.
I hope that answers.
Okay. Yes, perfect. And I'm going to share the presentations and the recording after the webinar. So you'll be able to get the link to the wine report from Jennifer's presentation. So just so everybody knows that. All right, next up we have Michael Z with Oriental Pearl Limited. He is an importer of American wines into Hong Kong, and he's been doing this about 9 years. So he's going to give us the importer's perspective. And Michael, I will let you share your screen.
All right. Testing, making sure everyone can hear me here.
Yeah. And see
All
your
right.
screen.
I might, yep, I will have to likely go with turning off my video just so the connection stays stable. So give me a quick minute as I do that. And seems I can't, but I'll do let me know if anything seems a little off on my end, and I will take a minute to kind of fix everything. All right, just making sure I have everything. All right, so hello everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm Michael from Oriental Pro Hong Kong Limited, also known as OPL. I'm the purchasing manager of the company, and I have been in the wine industry since 2015. I'm happy to share some insight into the Hong Kong wine market as an importer today. I want to begin by giving a brief intro into the company, and then I'll move into the 3 key points I have, which is the Hong Kong palette, what sells in Hong Kong, and why Hong Kong. All right. So going back to the introduction for my company, OPL is an importer and distributor of wines for both Hong Kong and mainland China, and we have been operating since 2004. So within Hong Kong, we distribute to restaurants, hotels, and bars, on trade. And with mainland China, we act as a wholesaler. So we provide wines to distributors around China. So quickly going to our portfolio, we have a focus on US and Bordeaux wines, but then we also carry wines from Italy, Germany, and Portugal. But our focus remains basically on US and Bordeaux. And within our US, our current focus is on wines offered in California, though the focus not solely on just, Napa Valley or Sonoma. So we also look into other AVAs within California. So one popular AVA everyone might be familiar with recently is Paso Robles, because of the purchase of the Dow Vineyards by basically Penfolds. And besides that, we also source from Lodi, popular for its Zinfandel, and lastly, the Central Valley area. So, going to the Hong Kong palette of consumers in Hong Kong, from experience, I would say that people here are very picky, but at the same time, very receptive to new products. Now, this is due to the population carrying various degree of wine knowledge, and with the Asia Wine Service and Education Center, which is also known as OSEC, offering wine education through WSET, consumers with little knowledge at first would stick to what they can recognize in terms of, say, brand names. But as they learn, they're more open to wines produced in the same area, eventually moving to another country. Now, in terms of, say, flavor profiles, if I can generalize it, I guess people here would prefer, say, red wines with more weight. And as much as people here kind of hate to admit, they actually do prefer wines that are more fruit forward. And, with white wines, Hong Kong stays warm basically most of the time because of the tropical weather. They like light-bodied, crisp, refreshing white wines that works best. And I guess going into the varietals, I guess Bordeaux blends a very popular item people go for. So the usual Cabernet Sauvignon, the Merlot, Petit Verdot, Cabernet Franc, and then with some of the components that people could recognize, which is Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. So moving into the more popular varietals found in the US, there would be Chardonnay and Zinfandel. Now, this doesn't mean that, the Hong Kong market is limited to the varietals just mentioned. Like I said, people are very receptive to new profiles. And I'm sure one question most people have here is, so what sells? So to dive deeper into what else works besides just varietals, usually, people like the connection to bigger wineries or popular names, right? Which is why I brought up brand recognition earlier. So people tend to go with, say, Lafite and Latour, and then eventually moving to Bordeaux, catching people's attention next, and then the brands associated with the chateaus. So, there's like Robert Mondavi, Opus One, which gained its popularity with the collaboration with Bordeaux. And it is tough competing against old world's established brands, as US wines. But the attention that these collaborations bring to U.S. wines has its advantages, and we have noticed that people are giving it more respect over the years. And having catered to more sophisticated consumers, wines with a cult following also tends to pique the interest of collectors. So those are also very, very popular here. And going back to new consumers, after they get past that initial phase of trying what's popular, they want to try and explore what is around. Which is why we have Napa Valley to kind of take that first step in for people to try out. And then we also offer what's kind of around the region within California. Now, why Hong Kong, right? Why do I think it's a viable place for US wine and why we focus so much on it? Hong Kong itself, it's a very, very big international hub for commerce, drawing enough resources and people here. And I think there is, the last I checked, around 79 Michelin star restaurant, which is very impressive for such a small country in Hong Kong. And the next big thing is the wine culture, right? So one of the best aspects about Hong Kong is the wine culture. So even though, beer and cocktail itself is a very, very popular social drink, wine remains to be a significant part for meals as it carries a prestige. So the wine presence isn't limited to say just steakhouses or other Western cuisines, but it's also found in Chinese restaurants, banquet halls, and restaurants serving different Chinese cuisines, even Sichuan food, which, as some of you may know, is spicy. And Hong Kong's presence in the wine world is very, very significant, with, say, Vin Expo, as well as Hofex, having, well, food and wine, and other sorts of wine fairs that's hosted by HKTDC and different festivals throughout the year. So, ATO organizes different US producers and have organizations such as California Wine Institute, CWI, help liaising between importers and producers. And that helps out because they were able to host events basically throughout entire COVID. And, it's not always physical, but, trying to do webinars, trying to do web sales, trying to basically push for people to continue to remember and consume was a very good thing for us. But then the physical market support in the form of flying producers to Hong Kong for tasting events and presenting, more enticing opportunities for consumers to learn about the wines is also very important. So also, like, Zoom, like what we're doing right now, online tastings are basically very, very popular. So online tastings where the producer would go online and give sort of a seminar while there's a physical tasting that's happening at the same time have been done a lot of times, and is actually still being done now. So it's also important for us to bridge that gap between producers and customers, because as much as telling a good story ourselves, can draw someone in, consumers love to hear the story straight from the winemaker, as well as, someone that's worked on the glass of wine that they're currently tasting. And besides physical, we have online marketing itself is equally critical because, without proper marketing online, people don't catch on as quick. And with, the popularity of social media, it's very crucial to be able to spread awareness in different platforms online. So going to another advantage of Hong Kong is that, as Jennifer mentioned earlier, beverages below 30% alcohol content is imported tax-free. So that opened up a lot of opportunities for us to import and test the market with new items that come up. And let's not forget that Hong Kong acts as the perfect gateway into mainland Chinese markets, securing opportunities for us to not just move the wines into the market up into mainland, but also as a place for people from mainland to come down to Hong Kong to secure the wines themselves and consume. And from what we've noticed, US wines are a good fit for both Hong Kong and the mainland Chinese palate. Now, before I finish off, I'll be honest, there were challenges. It wasn't easy to bring US wines in during the late 2000s when we first started. But throughout the past decade and a half, the quality of US wines have gone up significantly, drawing more attention. And though it meant, prices may have gone up, making it a little tough to compete with other countries trying to also take a foothold in Hong Kong. The added attention also gave surrounding smaller and lesser known producers and regions a chance to shine, such as, Oregon, New York, as well as other places within California. And throughout the toughest recent times with COVID, we're still taking time to travel to the States to visit vineyards and source new wines for Hong Kong. So the wine market here may be small, but the wine source there is considered trustworthy. and is held as a higher standard. So even though the current market isn't as optimistic as we may have hoped, we're still very optimistic about the future for US wines in Hong Kong. And that is all I have for now. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Michael. An interesting perspective to hear from somebody who's doing the importing and working with the different varietals. So we really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, very interesting. And you know what, if y'all don't mind, we may just do the questions kind of after the presentations. I mean, we can also do a Q&A at the end. Is there any market for private label wines is the question that just came through.
Private, oh, should we do the, should I answer it now? Or
Yeah, I mean, I think it's for you, and since you just finished, if you don't mind.
yeah,
Yeah.
there is definitely a market for private label wines because, as I mentioned, banquet halls tend to like to take a private label themselves, and there's a big enough kind of wanting their own wine where I've seen a lot of private labels done through both US, Portugal, and also for French wines in Hong Kong.
Great, thank you. And next up, we have Bridget Lee. She is the director of the office in Chicago for the Hong Kong Trade Development Council. She has been there for 23 years, working on trade between Hong Kong and the US. And the Hong Kong Trade Development Council is also the organizer of the Hong Kong International Wine and Spirits Fair. So she is going to speak more about the show, and I will let her share her presentation. Oh, and Bridget, you are on mute.
Good morning, everybody. Can you see the presentation?
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh, it says the screen share is loading.
Oh, Michael, you might need to stop your share.
Okay, I'll start again. It still says it's loading.
Let me see.
No, is it sharing?
No, I'm still not seeing it.
Oh, it says your screen sharing.
There it is.
It is? Okay. All right, everybody, good morning. So today I want to share with you some information about the Hong Kong International Wine and Spirits Fair. And this is the platform where you can sell to China and Asia markets via Hong Kong. And here we go. The dates of the show. Oh, sorry, the screen is not moving. The screen, Daniel, the screen is not moving. And I can't hear you.
Oh.
So,
yes, so you can't advance your slides?
yeah, I can't advance my slides.
What are you sharing? Are you sharing through PowerPoint?
Yeah. Oh, here we go. So the Wine and Spirits Fair is a major event for the industry, and it serves as a specialized business-to-business platform for the promotion of wine and spirits products for international companies, and it's a platform for global promotional bodies for conducting business and exchanging marketing information. So here are the dates of the show. The show itself, well, it will be the 16th edition, and the dates are from Thursday to Saturday, 7th to the 9th of November, 2024. But really, your selling journey starts in October and ends in December through our Exhibition Plus online and offline trade show format. The venue is at the Hong Kong Convention and Exhibition Center. So why become an exhibitor? The reason why you would become an exhibitor is because there are more than 15,000 buyers from around the world that will be at the show. And Hong Kong is the regional wine trading and distribution center for the Asia region. And Hong Kong offers a one-stop access to Asia and mainland China markets, as you have already heard from Jennifer and from Michael. And through our 50 offices, the HKTDC network of offices around the world help to recruit buyers to the show. You have also heard a little bit about what the wine market is like in Hong Kong. At the show, at the International Wine and Spirits Show, you will meet buyers from ASEAN and also from North Asia, for example, Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, etc. You will get access to the Chinese market, where the forecasts show that the purchase of wine and spirits are set to grow at 3.93% every year. And also you have seen from Jennifer's charts that Hong Kong is a major market for re-export of wine and spirits. And according to statistics, there's set to be a 40% increase of wine re-exports from 2022 to 2023. There's as we see at the show, the emergence of new producing regions and also the rise of organic wine. So this is the fair at a glance for 2018 and 2019. We had over 1,000 exhibitors, 1,075 to be exact. And we hosted over 15,000 buyers at the show. And exhibitors and buyers came from over 73 countries and regions, and over 330 buyer meetings were arranged. So in terms of Asia buyers, we see buyers from all over Asia, including Korea, Japan, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, and Indonesia. And these are all major buyers from these markets that come to the show. You have access to the Chinese mainland, and here are some major buyers from the Chinese mainland, including the very recognizable Walmart. And these are not just retailers, but also wholesalers and F&B hospitality chains. Here is a list of, as you have heard from Michael and also from Jennifer, Hong Kong itself is a very mature market for wine and spirits. And here is a list of some premium buyers from Hong Kong that you will see at the show. They include restaurant chains and supermarkets and individual stores and hospitality groups. You may also be interested to know that there are over 700 wine and spirits importers and wholesalers in Hong Kong alone, and over 480 wine and spirits retail outlets that are based in Hong Kong alone. So this group of buyers will be at the show this year. Here is a snapshot of the wine fair in 2023, and you can see that the buyer traffic is very good. At the craft beer zone, the friends of wine zone, the wines category, and at the wine and the whiskey and spirits zone. So this is a very well attended fair by trade buyers and also by the public. We do have a number of country pavilions that are at the show. We have the Austria Pavilion, Germany Pavilion, France, Japan, Italy Pavilion, Mainland China Pavilions. There's also other happenings, events that are going on at the show during the show days. We have the opening receptions, we have competitions, seminars, and master classes. So the selling journey is not just the physical show itself. It is also an online and offline trade show format. So Exhibition Plus is a brand new exhibition model integrating online and offline trade show formats, extending face-to-face interactions from world-class exhibitions in Hong Kong to an online smart business matching platform to help you connect with business partners proactively. So your selling journey starts a month before, where you can browse, where the buyers will browse products and shortlist exhibitors, and a week before you yourself can start to send messages, schedule and connect online meetings using Click to Match. The physical, you meet buyers physically at the physical fair, and for a week after, you continue to schedule and conduct more online meetings. And for a month after, you can continue to contact buyers and chat with them. So the sourcing journey can start can be year-round when you join us on hktdc.com sourcing. So this hybrid package where you can reach out to registered buyers in advance is available to you at a discounted price of $420 in addition to your physical booth. So in terms of exhibit categories, we have a number of exhibit categories. One of the main ones is the wine category, where old world wine meets new world wine, and you get old world wines from Italy, Germany, France, as well as new world ones from USA, Australia, Chile, and mainland China. A very popular category that's been that was launched recently is the organic wine category, and the 2023 fair show feature organic wines from Italy, France, and Canada. The whiskey zone is also very popular, as you can see from Jennifer's slides earlier. And we have a whiskey zone that's very popular. The beer zone is also extremely popular, and consumers are constantly chasing new products in this category. So here are the other exhibit categories for liquor and beverage, wine education, wine investment, wine accessories, equipment services, wine media, and friends of wine. These are all categories, additional categories at the show. So the standard booth designs are shown here. You have option A and option B. When you join the show, your booth package will be all inclusive, so everything is included. You pay one price and everything is included. You don't have to order separately for electricity or carpeting or anything else. It comes fully furnished with electricity and services all already set up for you. So all you simply need to do is bring your product to the show, set up, sell to the buyers, and that's it. That's all you need to do. So with that ends my presentation. You can contact SUSTA for more information about the show package, and we hope to see you at this year's Hong Kong International Wine and Spirits Fair. Right, thank you.
Thank you, Bridget. Yes, sounds exciting. And I wanted to share quickly before we move into the Q&A that SUSTA participants can exhibit, yes, this is it, that SUSTA has a pavilion at this show. And companies in our programs can register on our website. So if you go to our events page, you'll see it listed there, the Hong Kong International Wine and Spirits Fair. And this is the fee that you would pay. So it's $1,700, a little over, if you come through SUSTA, and you'll get your own booth space, you know, your 9 square meter booth with standard furniture packaging. We also provide a market briefing and tour. So we'll usually work with Jennifer's office at the ATO to do to coordinate a market briefing. We also provide interpreter services for each booth. So if you would like to have an interpreter, you would just let us know and we would handle that and pay for an interpreter who will be with you for the entire show. Then the 5 exhibitor badges, and we will help with the expenses of getting your samples and materials to the show. So we will reimburse up to $1,000 in shipping costs. So, you know, SUSTA is really here to help small businesses get into the international market. And one of the ways that we do that is by making it more financially and logistically feasible for a small business. So this is a good example of that. It's a really great value to exhibit with us. And in addition to that, companies can apply for our cost share program to get 50% reimbursement of certain marketing expenses tied to the show. So that would be, you could request 50% reimbursement of your booth fee, travel for 2 people. So that would be airfare, hotel, and a meals and incidentals per diem. So, you know, that really takes a lot of the burden off of the company. Your giveaway items. So you'll see the image here. This is a company that is in our programs who has pet food, and they go to these pet products trade shows around the world and they give out dog collars and things like that. So maybe you have like wine glasses or shot glasses or something with your brand on it. We could even reimburse half of those expenses. Your, you know, banners and, you know, booth marketing materials, point of sale materials, all of those would also be eligible. So, you know, really taking a lot of the financial burden off of your shoulders and sharing it with you. So if you are planning on coming to the show and exhibiting, then definitely speak with SUSTA about getting into the cost share program. And that's all I wanted to mention. I think everybody else covered everything. I just wanted to say that. And with that, I will stop my share and we can move into Q&A. I also wanted to mention that we have Ian Chen and Roger Zhang from SMH International. They have been on, they were not presenting today, but they are SUSTA's consultant in China and Hong Kong. If you've been with SUSTA for a while, you've probably met them and know them, especially if you've done anything in China and Hong Kong. So thank you for being here, Roger and Ian. And they'll, yeah, they'll be around. Yep.
The importers and the show organizers.
Great. Yes, I know. If you want to.
Daniel, do you mind that I just talk a few words?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, and all the SUSTA, companies, I think that after COVID, the Hong Kong, the economy is getting the recover. And also that, like the Jennifer mentioned, the Hong Kong is much easier to access, and the Hong Kong still different with the mainland China market. For example, in Hong Kong, we don't have the specific labeling the requirement, and so it means small quantity still is possible to supply to the bar, supply to the the restaurant, supply to the retail stores as well. And also, we don't need to register in Hong Kong. They don't need to register the GACC. So that is all the more easier for your access. So I think about if you are never exported to the Hong Kong and China. So I really encouraging you, take this opportunity to join with us, attend the trade show. Also I will be there, and my colleague will be there. And we get a chance to talk, we get a chance to learn this market, and we can working together. And also, from the Hong Kong, if your products, they can be reached in Hong Kong, also from the Hong Kong, you can learn how to access to the mainland China. I think that is will be much easier. So I think about the Hong Kong is the first. It's very easy for access to you, and it's great the first stop. So I do hope I can see you in Hong Kong at the show.
Thank you, Roger. Okay, and we did have a question come in. Any information on the beer market in Hong Kong?
So I
Jennifer?
can take the first,
Yeah.
I can take the first stab, and I'm curious if Michael has any thoughts on this, but I apologize because I immediately realized as soon as I was going through the presentation that we didn't include beer, so my apologies for that. But we can put something together and send it to you, Danielle, so that you can send it to everybody.
Sure.
We did do a report a few years on beer. Craft beer in Hong Kong is extremely popular, but it's, I think, primarily dominated by the domestic production. It's about 33 or so craft brewers here in Hong Kong. What I will say is during the time that we were talking to the craft brewers here, they are very interested in collaboration with US. And so you've seen a couple of joint ventures there or experiments. So they are interested in that. At the time that we did our last report, we weren't seeing it's quite competitive is what I would say, but there's interest again in new products, in new flavor profiles. I've seen some pretty wild things here in the craft brewery scene, but I would be curious if Michael has any thoughts on that.
Okay, so in terms of beer, I do agree with Jennifer. I wouldn't say it's saturated, right? But it is very competitive because the local craft breweries really dominates the market. So I don't think there's really a space for, say, just a new brand to just come into Hong Kong. But like Jennifer said, I think if they collaborate together, there's definitely going to be a competitiveness in that, I would say.
Yeah,
Right.
and also I want to say right now, I'm based in Hong Kong now, and also, my colleague in Hong Kong, and also will help you for more the marketing information. If you need any help, just feel free to let me know, and also the colleague in Hong Kong, they're really, and looking forward to give you all the, the food show plus the service.
Yep, great. Yes, and if anybody wants to meet with Roger and Ian on our events page, if you go to Export Education, you can always register for a consultation with the team at SMH. Those are free. It's just a way for you to connect directly with them too.
Great. Before we close,
Yes.
I just want to add one thing.
Sure.
I want to point out that the consumer in Hong Kong, in fact, consumer in general in Asia, especially the younger generation, we are looking for new products. We are looking for new brands, and especially from the U.S. I don't think we have enough of the U.S. Beverage products in Hong Kong. Of course, California wine and another famous whiskey product are there, but there are so many more newer product in the U.S. and we really like to see more U.S. products, and we enjoy trying new brand and new taste. I don't know if Michael agrees with me.
No, I mean I do agree, if I can say. Sorry, I'll let you finish first before
I'm done. So.
Okay. I think you're right, but at the same time, I think you need something to kind of lead it into the market first. So either it's an established brand in say the US collaborating, or you collaborate with an established brand in Hong Kong to kind of get that foot in the door first. And then from then on, I think it'll be easier. So I think definitely there's a market for it, but it's just kind of how you garner enough attention in the initial stages.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think that kind of just makes it work a lot better. Not that it's impossible to come into the market yourself and try to kind of get a foothold yourself.
Totally agree, and that will rely on USDA to help us.
Yeah, in the southern US, we have
Also,
yeah. Thanks. And we seem to have a growing wine culture in some of our southern states. I know Texas has wine country and Virginia has a growing wine industry, and a few other states. So it would be interesting to see how those regions that are not as well known, especially in the international market, how that could be seen as like maybe something new and innovative coming out of the US, maybe like I don't know, something interesting and different.
Yeah, I know that, for example, I know that Texas wine is coming up right now.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah,
I would like to try it
Fredericksburg.
myself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, we have another question about what documentation is required for spirits and beer. This is somebody who joined late, so we can always address this later too.
Sorry, sure. In the slide
Yeah.
deck, you will see a link to our report, and that lists all the includes all the regulations that you need. But it's pretty straightforward when it comes to wine and spirits in general. But you'll see that regulation. And if you need any other information, feel free to reach out to us too, and we can point you to other of our reports that contains that information.
Fred, after the webinar, once I get the recording, I'm going to put it up on our website with all the presentations, and I'll send an email out so you'll have access to it then. But yes, and one thing that Jennifer mentioned too in her presentation that kind of dovetails with this is just how consistent Hong Kong is. They have their regulations and things are followed, and it's a country that seems like fair and easier to do business with. Well, I don't see any other questions coming in. But I would like to thank everybody who presented today and everybody who joined us. That was very informative and interesting. We look forward to seeing you in Hong Kong, hopefully going to the trade show and working with us there. So I will be in touch later today, but thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.